Okay, right. Good evening, students. Hope all of you can see me, right? And I'm audible to all of you. Uh,
Yes, we can hear, sir. We can hear.
right. Good. So, students, now we are meeting up here to have another discussion with regard to your CL1, right? Uh, advanced, yes, thank you. Advanced Audit and Assurance, our program with regard to the mock examination discussion. Students, this was conducted successfully many times previously, and I think at the last moment, since these are happening, many students are, I would say, getting the benefit of it. So without taking much of time, students, I will move to the paper, and I'll be sharing my screen time to time. So in the meantime, students, if you have any questions, doubts to be cleared, right, from wherever, not only from the paper that we are discussing, but anywhere else, if you find any doubt that need to be discussed, cleared, students, let us know, right? We are there to help you. We are there to assist you and sort out any of your issues that are there. So, students, just to give you some sort of an idea of your paper. Your paper is a 3-hour paper with 15 minutes reading time. During the 3 hours, you have to answer section 1, 2, and 3. Section 1 is on multiple choice questions. You will have 10 multiple choice questions, and that area will give you 20 marks altogether. So you know that, right? By now, you know section 1 will be 10 multiple choice questions with 2 marks each, so 20 marks into that particular area. So section 2, students, is again another important area where you will have 4 questions of 10 marks each, 10 into 4, 40 marks. And section 3, where you have 2 questions, 20 marks each, 2 into 20, 40 marks altogether you will be getting. So altogether 100 marks. Students, remember, for examination success, there are certain points that I wanted to tell you. Number 1, students, this paper, you can't omit any area, right? Monohari area ka you can't omit any area. All areas are extremely important for you to answer. On entire, right? All the areas are important for you to answer because there is no choices that you can do. No choices, right? This paper is not a paper where examiner will give you 8 questions, out of that write 5. Not that type of a paper. All questions are mandatory to answer. Remember that. So all questions mandatory to answer. That means each and every syllabus area you need to have an idea, right? Each and every syllabus area you got to have an idea when you are answering. Syllabus එකේ හැම area එකක්ම answer කරන්න ඕනේ. That's another thing that you got to remember. So you can't forget, you can't omit, you can't give up any area. What a minimum. මම assurance කරේ නෑ, right? assurance කරපු එක මට තේරුන්නේ නෑ, right? ඒක නිසා මම assurance බලන්නේ නෑ. or quality control, I didn't got what was done. So quality control, I will just give up. You can't do like that, students. Each and every area, there are questions which are coming in, you have to answer. And this particular standard, I didn't do. Say, Sri Lanka auditing standard number 570, right? 570, Mama Karena, or 550, I didn't do, right? Related party transactions, I didn't do. So I have to give up that area. But under bad students, if a question comes in related party for 10 marks, that 10 marks you have to forget. So each and every area you have to thoroughly study in the coming 1 week's time. That's really important. And the second point is writing your answers according to the action verb. So examiner will ask you different action verbs. Maybe he will, in the question, he will say state, he will say discuss, he will say analyze, he will say elaborate, he will say show, he will say summarize. So for every action verb, there is a meaning that you have to do. So you got to do whatever examiner's expectation which is coming in the action verb. Action verb banuwa thamai liyanna ඕන ළමයි. Remember that වෙන වැල්වටාරම් වල්පල් ලියන වැඩක් නැහැ. Okay. Thoroughly go through the action verb. If you have not done action verbs, if action verbs were not covered in any of your areas, so today itself go to the action verbs list in your study pack, look at and see what is the requirement of the examiner. Action verb and writing according to action verbs is critical. Remember that. All 100 marks you have to write. ලකුණු 100ම ලියන්න ඕන. Number 1. Number 2, writing according to action verbs. And also, students, I have seen some students, what do they do is, they know theory. Theory done, right? Sometimes, several times repeat in the exam. Exam repeat karna keep para. Reason, students, examiner asks something in the question, but you have answered something else. මෙයා අහලා තියෙන එකක් ඔයා ලිව්වේ තව එකක් ළමයි. එහෙම කේසුත් තියෙනවා. So today itself, අදම after this session, right? මේ session එකෙන් පස්සේ write a paper එකක් ලියලා you yourself read it. තමන්ගේ answer එක තමන්ම බලන්න. You yourself read what you have written. Do that. Then when you are reading, students, if you find ade examiner asked this but I have written down something else, that means, students, there is something that you have to improve pat quickly. එක paper එකකට උත්තර ලියලා තමන්ම කියවලා බලන්න තමන්ගේ උත්තරේ. Do that. You will identify areas of improving for you. If at that time, if you improve for 5 marks, students, that will be your cutting marks. That will be, you will have about 50-51. You will pass the exam. Remember that. I'm telling this to the students who are repeating the exam multiple times. Right? So see, write up your answer, read your answer, and see where are areas that you have to improve. And some students, unfortunately, students writing down examiner's question as it is in the answer. Question එක එහෙමම ලියනවා. Don't do that. Right? Whatever they are in the question, students, you don't need to repeat at the paper. Your answer script. You have to write an answer there, not a question again, right? So remember, whether you are writing parts of the question again in your answer, which is useless, time consuming, nothing, no value addition to you. Useless, time consuming, and no value addition to the students. Remember that as well. Then the other point, when you are taking points from your standards, from audit, from ethics, from quality control, from internal audit, wherever, if you are getting points from the standard, students, don't write the standard as it is, because examiner knows that standard has that is. So what you got to do, get the relevant learning outcome. You know what is learning outcome, right? Get the relevant learning outcome from the standard and tailor-made that according to the case that is given there in the question. Get the point from the standard or ethics or quality control or assurance engagements or review engagements or whatever. Get the information from the standard and tailor-make that for the examiner's question asked and write up your answer. Do that. Very important. Standard එකෙන් අරගෙන ළමයි standard එක එහෙමම දාන්න එපා answer එකේ, because examiner knows that what is there in the standard, right? What you got to do, tailor-make it into the given scenario and write down the answer. Very important, right? Or make a recording that when the CA Sri Lanka publishes, go through it again. Make a recording publish කරාම ආයි පාරක් මේක බලන්න. මොකද the points that I tell you will be your, I would say, critical marks that you will get. And the other point, තව point එක. Remember, students, everyone, this, you all have started this exam with a purpose, right? Purpose එක පටන් ගත්තා. So put your 100% effort. I can't tell 110 or 200%. Put your 100% effort in the coming few days, maybe 7, 8, 10 hours of work. Go ahead, do your studies. Balala karanna, right? Everyone, you got to do that. Remember that, right? So the points I told you, never repeat examiner's question again. When you are writing areas from the standard, always tailor-make it to the question asked. ආපු ප්‍රශ්නෙට tailor-make කරලා ළමයි ඒකට අදාළ විදියට ලියන්න. Write it according to relevancy and be mindful about the action verb. Write to all the questions. හැම ප්‍රශ්නෙටම උත්තර ලියන්න. Time management is critical. When you get the paper, when you get your paper, put at what time I am going to finish this question. මේ ප්‍රශ්න කීයටද ඉවර කරන්න කියලා time එක හදලා ඒක දාගන්න. Very important. All these will guarantee your examination success. Okay, with all these, students, shall we move to your paper? right? අපි මේකට paper එකට යමුද? Right? Let me share you the paper. මම paper එක ඔයාලට share කරන්න. Give me a moment. Right. Students, is my screen visible to all of you? The paper? Hopefully.
Yes,
Can I
we
have?
can see. We can see.
Yes. Great, great. Thank you. See, mock exam paper, December 2024. Students, look at it. We will first move to mock, right? Section 1, multiple choice questions. Question number 1. Look at it carefully. Reading speed is also extremely important, right? Kiyavana vegat are important. See, Nelum Private Limited. Students, private limited liability company. Remember, so governance is not much important, but we know owner managed companies have a control deficiencies, that are limitations in internal controls are there when the company is owner managed, like private limited liability companies, where maybe owners may override controls. Owners lamai controls override karai. See, okay. Nelo Private Limited is a newly established company. After an annual financial report is prepared, the board decides to engage an independent auditor to audit the financial statements. So after the annual financial statements are prepared, the board decided to audit it. Why is an audit necessary in this situation? To support the board's stewardship responsibility. Board of directors are the stewards of shareholder money. On behalf of the shareholders, board acts as the agent and they are the stewards of shareholder property. Shareholders' money, they manage shareholder money, which is known as stewardship. So, board of directors are accountable to the shareholders. So, we call it, students, accountability. They are responsible for their actions. They should justify their actions. So, they manage the shareholder property, manage the shareholder money. So, examiner asking why there is a need for audit in terms of stewardship. May responsibility එක board එක කරද්දී ඇයි අපිට audit එකක් ඕන? Why we need an audit? See, A, to detect and prevent fraud within the organization and obtain comfort over it. To prevent and detect fraud within the organization and for comfort over it. Students, yes, fraud prevention is part of the objective of an audit, but it's not the main objective. Fraud prevention is the main objective anyway. See, number 2, to provide assurance that the financial statements are prepared fairly in accordance with the accounting standards, the accounting framework, and reflect the true financial position of the company. Why we need an audit? I think answer is B. We need an audit of financial statement, students, to have a reasonable assurance that the financial statements are prepared in accordance with the framework, which is the standards. Answer is B. Look at C. To ensure that the company's operational efficiency is maximized. No, operational efficiency, not part of the statutory audit. To reduce the need for internal controls within the company. No. Answer is B, Ramai. Question 1, answer B. Who got answer B? B ආපු කට්ටිය කියන්න බලන්න. Can I have your response? Can we use the chat box, students? Yes, you got it right. Good. Okay. Students, the objective of an audit is not to catch thieves or prevent frauds or whatever. Objective of an external statutory annual audit is to ensure that the financial statements provide a reasonable assurance that it is prepared as per the standards, as per the framework. If any deviation from the framework happens, it is a misstatement. If it is above, those deviations above the materiality level. Those are material misstatements where we have to modify our opinion. Remember. Question number 2. High-tech solutions company has recently adopted the big data analytics platform. So they have, this is a digitalization question. They have adopted the big data analytics platform to improve its marketing strategies and customer targeting. The company now collects and analyze vast amount of customer data. Collect and analyze vast amount of customer data from various sources, including websites, mobile app usage, and online transactions. So customer data is analyzed. The marketing team uses these insights to tailor advertisements. Advertisements are tailored, targeted, and personalized offers to individual customers. The auditors of the company noted that the data governance policies are not clearly defined. Data governance policy not clearly defined. That means there can be data breach. And there are concerns about how the company handles and protect customer data. So there can be cybersecurity threat. Students, data can be hacked, data can be stolen. That risk is there. What is the primary risk the company faces by leveraging data analytics without strong data governance policies? Without strong data management or data governance, what is the risk that the company is running into? Number 1, data governance එකක් නැතුව ළමයි data analyze කරද්දි මොනවද යන risk එක? What can happen? Students, data can be leaked. No, very sensitive data can be leaked because of cybersecurity threats. See, A, the inability to detect fraudulent transactions or activities, the risk of violating data protection regulation and breaching customer privacy. If hacked, this will happen. The risk of making inaccurate marketing decisions due to incomplete data, increased cost of maintaining IT infrastructure and data storage. Students, without proper controls on data, if you analyze data, what sort of risks you are running into? A or B or C or D? Can I have a response? Answer A, the B, the C, the D. What's your answer? Can I have a response? A or B or C or D? Answer is B. If you, without proper data governance or proper controls, if you analyze data, students, data may be broken, right? Data may be breached. Data breach and cyber security threat, people's privacy will be lost. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's go to question number 3. Answer is B. Question 2, answer B. Look at question number 3. C. 3. Third question. BL Financial Services, the company, has integrated several cloud-based platforms to manage its operations and customer data. They have integrated several platforms to manage its operations and customer data. So several modules integrated together. So if you update one area, the entire process will be updated. It's like a SAP enterprise resource planning where several modules, maybe procurement, maybe sales, maybe property plant equipments, payroll, cash management, those modules integrated together so the business runs that way. It's what normal typically SAP doing. ERP, enterprise resource planning. With increased reliance on digital systems, the company is handling sensitive financial information such as personal customer details, transaction histories, all stored in the cloud. So very sensitive customer data is stored in the cloud. During an internal audit, the auditor identified gaps in company's cybersecurity framework, such as weak access controls and lack of regular vulnerability assessment, which could expose the company into cybersecurity threat. Similar to the earlier one, there are no proper cybersecurity threat. Anybody can access to the database and hack data. There are no cybersecurity controls. What key control should the company implement to mitigate cybersecurity threat risk effectively? So what's the risk we have? අපිට risk එක මොකද්ද? Their auditor has identified gaps in cybersecurity frameworks such as weak access controls and lack of regular vulnerability assessment. Weak access controls. Maybe password protection is very weak. Weak access controls. Anybody can access the system. So when particular employees resign, you don't limit the access. Access to the database is available to everybody. So what are the key controls that you can have? A, increase the use of encryption for data storage and transmission. Students, if you have issues, limitations in data protection, no access control, no point of having encryption. Encryption means, students, when you are sending messages and emails, you convert the data into unreadable format to others. Only the people who know the format only read the email and the message. But encryption is not working for this kind of issues, for access control. Number P, limit access to cloud platforms based on the principle of least privilege and regulatory review access rights. Access rights regularly review current and limit the access to the cloud platforms. I think similar an answer, right? Access, හැමෝටම don't give access, right? Say, payroll module students, not every Tom, Dick and Harry type of employee should know. Payroll should be given the access to only HR related staff. So have access control. Otherwise, data will be lost. Part C, reduce the number of third-party vendors to limit personal potential attacks. Right? Third-party vendors අඩු කරන්න, attacks අඩු කරගන්න. Encourage employees to use personal devices for work to reduce cost allocated associated with corporate IT infrastructure. Asking employees to work with their personal PCs. Disaster. Disaster. What's the answer? A, B, C, or D? A, the B, the C, the D, the my answer. To reduce the access risk එක අඩු කරන්න ළමයි මොකක්ද දාන්න පුළුවන් control එක? A, B, C, or D? Very good, guys. Very good. B, B. Right? ඔය විදිහට උත්තර ලියන්න ඕන. In the exam, answer is B. Look at question 4. Sorry. G&M Associates, a firm of chartered accountants, is considering. G&M Associates is a firm of chartered accountants considering, right? They are considering, they are considering whether to accept an assurance engagement with a new client, which is a startup company in the healthcare sector. A new client, startup, අලුත් business එකක් ළමයි, which is in healthcare. The startup is developing a new medical device and seeks an assurance engagement on the accuracy and reliability of its financial statements and compliance with regulatory requirements. So it's a startup lamai, startup company. So no historical financial statements, historical accounts, last year accounts, last 3 year accounts are not available. So most of their information is based on projected forecast. So those are based on students, the research they have done, right? Projected income. The auditors assess the potential risk associated with the engagement, such as the startup, limited internal control system, its financial instability, and the need for specialized industry knowledge. So auditors have identified high level of risk in the startup. Startup will not have initial large volume of revenue. Risky business, because startups can be closed down anytime. This kind of risk are there. What should GM and associates do before accepting the assurance engagement based on the framework for assurance engagement? Students, for this startup, right? Startup එකක් තියෙන. and projected incomes, forecasted incomes are there. Generally, what sort of assurance you can provide? මේකට දෙන්න පුළුවන් assurance එක මොකක්ද? Is it reasonable assurance or limited assurance review engagement? What sort of assurance you can provide? What do you think? Startup එකක් ළමයි, projected income mostly, new income, right? What sort of assurance you can provide? Very good, everybody. You can't provide reasonable assurance, right? Mostly you are providing a limited assurance. Right. What should GM and associates do before accepting this assurance engagement based on the framework for assurance engagement? So what does this audit firm has to do based on assurance framework? A. ළමයි මේක review එකක් තමයි අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දෙන්නේ, as you guys clearly said, limited assurance, because startups assumptions based forecast are there. A. Accept the engagement if the client offers a high fee for the service. Fee එක වැඩි නම් මේක accept කරන්න. Can you do like that? Never. Proceed with the engagement if the startup is confident in its financial stability. Engagement එක කරන්න startup එක financially stable now. Can you? No. See whether you are independent. See whether competitively you can do. Whether the auditors have competence to do it. Auditor මේකට කරන්න competence තියනවාද? See. Evaluate whether the firm has the necessary competence. Whether you can do. Whether you have resources and independence to perform the engagement and assess any potential risk as well. D. Focus solely on financial aspect of the engagement and decide on the acceptance of the engagement. Before accepting the startup audit, what you got to do? A, B, or C, or D? Can I have your answer? May startup එක audit එක කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලාමයි. ඔයා මොකද කරන්නේ? A or B or C or D? Can I have your response? Everybody. There are more than 160 here. Everybody. Can I have your answers? A, B, C or D? ළමයි professional විදියට ඉන්න එපා, answer එක දාන්න නේ. Write up your answer. Then only you will learn. නැත්නම් exam එක වෙලාවෙත් ගිහලා professional විදියට ඉඳලා එන්න පුළුවන්. Put your answer. A, B, C or D? Good job, guys. Answer is C. Answer ළමයි C, because you have to see whether you have the competence to do, whether there are resources you can do, are you independent? You have to see. සල්ලි දුන්නා කියලා මේවා කරන්නේ නැහැ ළමයි, right? First answer A නෙමෙයි. Look at question number 5. Ocean Private Limited, another client, engaged an auditor who reviewed their financial statements through analytical procedures and inquiries. Auditor reviewed their financial statements through analytical procedures and inquiries. Students, what sort of assurance provided here? මෙතන දීපු assurance එක මොකද? Can I have your response? Pat. Response එක පට ගාලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතන දීපු assurance එක මොකද? What's the assurance given here? Can I have the response, everybody? Reviewed the financial statements through two procedures, analytical procedures and inquiries. What's the assurance given? Sri Lanka standards on assurance engagements. Analytical procedures and inquiries only provided. Limited assurance, review engagement. Limited assurance. In contrast, Blue Sky Private Limited engaged in the auditor to perform detailed procedures on the financial statements, and the auditor's report is with a reasonable assurance. more detailed test of details done. So reasonable assurance given, high level of assurance given. What is the key difference between the assurance level provided in the auditor's report of Ocean Private Limited and Blue Sky? What is the key difference? In one, they provided limited assurance. The other one is high level of reasonable assurance. A Ocean Private Limited auditor provided limited assurance, yes, review, indicating insufficient evidence for high level of certainty. Ocean Private පළවෙනි එකේ දුන්නේ මොන assurance එකක්ද ළමයි? Limited assurance එකක් දුන්නේ. See next one. Blue Sky Private Limited auditor provided limited assurance because the audit was based on limited procedures. No. Blue Sky දෙවනියට කියපු එකේ ළමයි මොන assurance එකක්ද? High level of assurance. So answer B incorrect. Blue Sky Private Limited auditor provided lower level of assurance because of procedures that were more extensive. No, high level of assurance given in Blue Sky, only in Ocean only. Limited assurance. Ocean Private Limited auditor provided a high level of assurance. No, Ocean Private Limited, low level of limited assurance given. What's the answer? A, B, C, or D? Answer A, the B, the C, the D. Can I have a response? Answer is D, where limited assurance, low level of procedures, only inquiry and analytical procedure. Look at question number 6, everybody. Give me a moment. 6 කියවලා බලන්න මම අපිට උත්තරයක් දාන්න බලන්න chat box එකේ. Read 6 and put your answer in chat box. Read question 6 and put your answer in chat box. What's your answer? What's the answer? C. Very good, guys. Let's see. S&S Associates is a firm of chartered accountants, audit firm, provides both audit and tax advisory services to its long-term client, High Tech Private Limited. They provide both audit and tax advisory services. During the year-end audit, the firm's tax advisory team also assists High Tech Private Limited with preparing tax filing and advising on tax strategies. A senior partner at SNS Associates is involved in both audit and tax advisory services. Students, same partner doing audit work and tax advisory services. What's the threat? එයාම කරපු tax එක එයාම audit කරනවා. What threat is associated with SNS Associates providing both audit and tax advisory services to high-tech, and how you can mitigate it? Intimidation threat, where the client pressures the auditor, mitigated by increasing audit fees. No, out. Self-interest threat, where the partner's financial involvement in tax work may influence the audit, mitigated by rotating the audit staff. No, not self-interest. Self-interest නෙමෙයි ළමයි. Right? Familiarity threat due to close relationship between the partner and the client, mitigating discontinuing tax advisory services. No. Tax advisory order කරන්න පුළුවන්. Why? It's a private limited liability company. No problem at all. But what you got to do? Separate the audit and tax teams. Because why? You advise on tax and you are auditing it. Self-review threat, where the firm may audit its own work, mitigated by separating the teams, right? Separating, self-review. Self-review. Answer is D. Answer D. Look at question number 7, everyone. Atabalu. Eranda, a senior manager at Prestige Auditors, a firm of chartered accountants. He is assigned to handle, when you have assigned handle the financial statements of a new client, Global Farms Private Limited. Again, a private limited. Global. Eranda has a personal relationship with the CEO of Global, as they attended the same university and have occasionally met socially. So the senior manager of the audit firm and the CEO of the client are quite, they are having a familiar relationship. Same university. Occasionally meet. While Eranda is committed to maintaining professional integrity, there is a potential conflict of interest due to his personal connection with the CEO. Eranda's firm has a policy of ensuring independence and objectivity in all client engagement, but he is unsure about the best course of action to address this situation. What ethical safeguard can Eranda apply to ensure Eranda ensure her objectivity and address the potential conflict of interest? Too much familiar, right? He can disclose the relationship to the firm and ensure that a different team is assigned to handle the client's financial statements. Better to do that, no? Because of the close relationship between the manager and the audit client's CEO, better Eranda don't do it. Inform that to the audit audit firm and ask them to appoint a different auditor and do it. I think answer is A. He can continue working with the client but avoid any discussion with CEO. Audit එක කරන්න බෑ, CEO එක කතා කරන්න එපා. Out නෝ ළමයි ඒක කරන්න බෑ. Be out. He can ignore the relationship due to his integrity. Values he uphold. There is no room for relationship affecting. No. He can delegate the task of preparing the financial statements to the client's internal team to avoid any bias. Client කියලා මේ ටික කරගන්න. No. D out. What's the answer? A, B, C, or D? A, the B, the C, the D. What is the answer? Can I have the answers? But quickly. A, B, C, or D? Then බලන්න my answers ටික. Answer is A. Eranda has a self-interest and familiarity threat. Then අඳුරනවා ළමයි. So better Eranda say, මේ මම මෙයාව අඳුරනවා. අනේ please වෙන කෙනෙක් දාලා audit එක කරගන්න. So answer is A. Remove Eranda, have a different person. Answer is A. Go to question number 8. Rashmi, head of internal audit at Bright Lanka Private Limited. See, Rashmi, head of internal audit at Bright Lanka Private Limited. The company is asked to support the company's risk management. Head of internal audit is asked to support. Rashmi is the head of internal audit. Rashmi කියන්නේ තමයි internal audit එකේ ලොක්කා, right? So internal auditors, also students, should have some sort of a distance from the executive management of the company. That's why internal auditors are directly reporting to the chairman and the audit committee. They should not ideally be involved in executive management day-to-day operations. He is asked to support the company's risk management efforts, particularly in cybersecurity and operational risk. While she knows internal auditors can provide both assurance and advisory services, she is unsure how much involvement is appropriate without compromising her independence. Yes, internal auditor students should engage here carefully. Because why? If you too much engage with executive teams, your independence will be compromised. To what extent can Rashmi support Bright Lanka Private Limited risk management initiatives using assurance and advisory services? A. She can only provide advisory services and cannot assess or manage risk. Participate in developing the risk management framework and policies. Because Ramai, if Eranda and internal auditor, no, if she go and Rashmi, if Rashmi go there and do some system implementation, internal control implementation, if she involved in that, subsequently when she audit that, self-review threat can happen. මෙයාම මේවට advice කරලා එයාම ඒක audit කරොත් ළමයි self-review threat can happen. So examiner asking, to what extent Rashmi can do this work? She can only provide advisory services and cannot assess or manage risk. Participate in developing the risk management framework and policies. See, එයාට කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කියන්නේ advisory services විතරයි. But risk management and ඒවා කරන්න බෑ. B. She can provide assurance on risk management effectiveness and offer advisory services, but should not implement strategies. මේවට advice කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි strategy දාන්න එපා. Because why? Implementation of strategy is a management responsibility. Can you remember you discussed that? She can fully implement risk strategies as part of her role as it is integrated to the internal audit function. Risk strategies implemented. She can fully implement. If she implement, see බලන්න ළමයි. She can fully implement risk strategies. එහෙම දැම්මොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? If internal audit implement risk strategies and if she review it, self-review threat can happen. D. She can offer both assurance and advisory services, but must avoid reviewing the same areas. Offer both assurance and advisory services, but must avoid reviewing the same area. Answer A, B, C, or D. දෙන බලන්න අපේ උත්තරේ ළමයි. Aද B, C, D. Answer is B. She can provide assurance on risk management effectiveness and offer advisory services, but should not involve in implementing strategies. Strategy දාන්න බෑ ළමයි. Strategy දාන්න එක management responsibility. It is the responsibility of the management, so you should not do that. So එතන පොඩ්ඩක් ලියමු ළමයි. Otherwise self-review threat happens. So here in this place, write down everyone. මේ දීපු තැන හැමෝම ලියන්න. The internal auditor should be independent from operational and executive management. Internal auditor should be independent from operational and executive management. Therefore, internal auditors should not implement risk management strategies since they are subsequently reviewing them. And there can be a self-review threat. There can be a self-review threat. As such, they can only provide advisory services, and not implementation of the same. Right. Everyone go to question number 9. See, Millennium Private Limited. So answer to question 8 is B. At B again answer sorry, 8 answer B. She can provide assurance on risk management, effectiveness, and offer advisory services, but should not implement strategies. Strategy implement කරන්න බෑ. Self-review threat can happen. Next, Millennium Private Limited is considering conducting 2 separate audits. Millennium Private Limited, a possible client, is considering conducting 2 separate audits. A governance audit to assess the effectiveness of the board and oversight mechanisms. Governance audit to evaluate whether the board is effective, and a culture audit to evaluate organizational culture and values. Governance audit and values audit. Nuan, the internal audit manager, is tasked with structuring both the audits. So internal audit manager is tasked with structuring both the audits. He knows that the approach for each audit will differ, but he is unsure of the key steps to take in structuring them effectively. මේ දෙක structure කරද්දි කොහොමද කරන්නේ? Because 2 audits are 2 different. The governance audit should focus solely on financial performance, while the culture audit should assess employee satisfaction. වැරදීනේ ළමයි. Governance audit, is it that financial performance that you are evaluating? No. That's the corporate governance and risk management you are evaluating. So A out. B, governance audit should assess the effectiveness of oversight structures like the board, like the, let's say, audit committee. That's what governance audit should evaluate, the oversight structure, while the culture audit should evaluate leadership, behavior, values, and employee engagement. What's the answer? Answer both audits should focus on financial and operational efficiency. Governance or financial efficiency. See out. Governance means corporate governance, risk management, right? Oversight. The governance audit should focus on risk management processes, while culture audit should examine training programs only. No. Answer A, B, C, or D. What's the answer? B. Answer is B. The governance audit should focus on effectiveness of the oversight, like the board, the audit committee, and culture audit on values, employee behavior, things like that. Question number 10. Look at 10. The external auditors of Smart Tech Limited. External auditors of Smart Tech Limited, the company, are planning to rely on the work of the company's internal audit department. External auditors are going to use the work of internal auditors for their external audit purpose, for the year-end audit. We have auditing standard for that, Sri Lanka auditing standard number 620, using the work of an internal auditor. The internal audit team has conducted thorough reviews on internal controls. Internal auditors have done a thorough, very good review of internal controls and risk management processes. However, the external auditors are unsure about how much they can rely on internal auditors' work without compromising the independence and audit quality. External auditors do not know to what extent internal auditors' work can be used. Which of the following factors should the external auditor of the company prioritize when determining how to effectively use the internal audit work in their financial audit? What sort of factors should be considered? A, external auditor can fully rely on internal audit work without any further review if the internal audit team is independent. No, can't. External auditor should evaluate the competence, their experience, right? Whether they have tested or reviewed the other areas, or everything has to be evaluated. After doing that only, you can use the internal auditor's work to your purpose. External auditors can rely on, part B, external auditors can rely on internal audit work only if they have reviewed and tested themselves to ensure adequacy and relevance of the controls. external auditors cannot rely on internal audit work at all, as their role is to perform audit procedures independently. No. SLA US 620 says we can use internal audit work for our purpose. The alignment of internal audit findings with known risk factors identified by the external auditor. Answer is A, B, C, or D. A, the B, the C, the D, the line. Answer the Can I have a response? Everybody, provide a response. All right. So, what is the answer? Answer is B. External auditors can rely on internal audit work only if they have reviewed and tested themselves to ensure adequacy and relevance. මේ මිනිස්සු හරි වැඩක් කරා. The answer is B ළමයි. Right? Answer is B. Right? Jitmi asks, what is the answer to question number 9? 9 answer ka මොකක්ද කියලා අහලා තියෙනවා. 9 එකේ answer එක ළමයි. Question number 9 answer is B. 9 answer B. Right? So can I know how many answers you got correct out of 10? 10න් කීයක් ආවද කියලා කට්ටිය ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? දෙන්න බලන්න 10න් කීයද කියලා. What is the answer? Very good, guys. 9, 7, 8. So my advice to all of you, mage advice එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝටම, right? Everybody, this area attack ඒ කියන්නේ ලකුණු 16ක්, right? 8 questions හරියන්න කරන්න ළමයි 16 marks වලට target කරන්න හැමෝම. 16 and plus. You can do it, right? මේක කරන්න පුළුවන් වැඩක් ළමයි. ලකුණු 16ක් මේකෙන් ගත්තොත්, if you get 16 marks and more from MCQ, 16ට වඩා MCQ වලින් ගත්තොත්, that means students තව 34යි ගන්න ඕන, right? Only 34 more that you got to get, right? So everybody, I see 20 out of 20 අරන් තියෙනවා, right? So very important that you got to do all sorts of stuff, right? මේ ටික කරන්න 16ට වඩා ගන්න ඕන හැමෝම. More than 16 you got to go, right? More than 16 you got to get. Okay, shall we move? යමුද ඉස්සරහට? Start reading section 2 ළමයි. Section 2 කියවන්න පටන් ගන්න හැමෝම. Look at question number 2. Always start reading the examiner's requirement first. Requirement එක කියවන වැඩේ පටන් ගමු. Evaluate. Action verb is evaluate. right? Evaluate කරන්න. So pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, right? So bit of a summary, point by point, right? Liam, evaluate how do the components listed in the scenario contribute to an effective internal control system. How does these components will contribute to effective internal control system? Lamai, effective internal control system, when the examiner says like that, which model comes to your mind? මේ ආන්සර් එක හදන්න ඕන මොන මොඩල් එක පාවිච්චි කළාද? What is the model from the theory that has to come to your mind? Internal control system කිව්ව ගමන් මොන මොඩල් එකද ඔලුවට ගන්න ඕන? Right? Internal control system කිව්ව COSO, right? COSO framework. So COSO framework, those 5 elements: control environment, information and communication, risk assessment, control activities, and finally monitoring of controls. මේකට COSO එකෙන් තමයි ළමයි උත්තර හදන්න ඕන. So examiner asking, evaluate how do components of component listed in above contribute to effective internal control system. මේ components වලින් කොහොමද හොඳ internal control system එකක් යන්නේ? Shall we read it? Sonic Private Limited, again private limited, right? Sonic Private Limited is a mid-sized manufacturing company. The management has implemented an internal control system that includes the following components: a clear organizational structure with defined roles and responsibilities. What's that? Clear organizational structure with defined roles and responsibilities. In that 5 elements, COSO framework, 5 elements, which component is this? Clear role, structure, culture, values, commitment to competence. What is this? What's this? Control. Control what? Control environment. Very good, guys. They have a control environment. If you have a clear structure, roles and responsibilities given, then the people know what they are doing. You can segregate their duties, right? So people know what they are doing, so they can be effectively oversighted, they can be effectively controlled, they can effectively be supervised. So you can have reporting lines from one to other. මෙයාට report කරන්න හදන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. When you have a structure, you can have delegated authorities. Everything can be done. B, regular training sessions for employees on ethical conduct and security protocols. Regularly you are training your employees. What's that? What's that? Training. Spam soap. Control activities. ඒකේ මොකද්ද මේ training එක? Personal controls, control activities, the personal controls, right? Very good, everybody. Personal controls. So if you then make a regularly, when you train people, what will happen? People will know what they have to do. People will have integrity within their mind. People will not commit frauds because controls are embedded in their culture. Personal control. Third one, a purchase order approval process for the amounts existing 50,000. 50,000ට වැඩි purchase orders ළමයි approve කරන්න ඕන. What's that? Proper control activity approval process. So that will ensure personal payments will not be paid and you will pay only the correct amounts. And all amounts that you pay are only for business purpose. Only for received service only you are paying. So company money will be safeguarded. Control activity approval. Control activity approval. Very good, guys. Weekly reconciliation of bank accounts by the finance department and are reviewed by the finance manager. When you prepare bank reconciliations, You can identify unreconciling items, fraud, errors, mistakes, you can capture. That will ensure proper control system. The inventory stored is locked with access restricted only to authorized staff. What is that? Which kind of a control? Locked. Locked doors. Locked doors. Mono control එක තමයි. Physical controls. Locked doors not IT controls Naomi. It's what? Physical controls. Shall we write down the answers? Answers ලියමුද? So write down answer to part A. COSO framework බලා ගන්න ළමයි. Look at COSO framework, very important. Huh? Part A. Write down. Answer to part A. Based on the COSO framework of internal control system, based on the COSO framework of internal control system, the components can be evaluated. Control system, the components can be evaluated on their contribution for control system. Components can be evaluated on their contribution to control system. Number one, a clear organizational structure, a clear organizational structure a clear organizational structure with defined roles will ensure with defined roles will ensure with defined roles will ensure that there is a proper oversight, that there is a proper oversight system that there is a proper oversight system where activities are supervised, where activities are supervised and proper reporting lines in place. Activities are supervised and proper reporting lines in place that will ensure frauds are prevented, in the business. Number 2, regular training, which is a personal control. Regular training, which is a personal control. Will ensure regular training, which is a personal control, will ensure that employees will conduct themselves. That employees will conduct themselves employees will conduct themselves with highest ethics. Employees will conduct themselves with highest ethics, as well as behavior is according to objectives. As well as behavior is according to objectives. Third one, approval of purchase orders. Approval of purchase orders. Approval of purchase orders. Approval of purchase orders above rupees 50,000. Above rupees 50,000. Will ensure payments are only done will ensure payments are only done for business purpose. Payments are only done for business purpose. Next one, weekly reconciliation. Sorry, weekly bank reconciliation. Weekly bank reconciliation will identify fraud, errors, and unreconciling items. Fraud, errors, and unreconciling items. And will ensure oversight on banking operation. Oversight on banking operation. Oversight on banking operation. Last one, students. Physical controls. Physical controls over inventory will prevent inventory from theft. Physical control of inventory will prevent inventory from theft and ensure frauds are prevented. And ensure frauds are prevented. Right. Students, part A done. Let's go to part B. See, look at the examiner's requirement, right? Action verb. Analyze the design and implementation of the purchase order process at Sonic Private Limited. Yes, that is enough, right? So for 5 marks, that's enough. C. Analyze the design and implementation of the purchase order process of Sonic Private Limited. Analyze the design and implementation of the purchase order process of Sonic Private Limited. Lamai, procurement purchase order function. Can you remember? Once the requisition is raised, supplier selection, purchase order done, three-way matching. Remember, अन्य process එක. See whether there is a weakness in design and implementation of purchase order process. Purchase order process එකේ මොනාරි weaknesses තියනවාද? Are there any weaknesses? Shall we read? The following information are available from Sonic Private Limited's purchasing process. The procurement department generate all purchase orders over rupees 50,000. These orders are entered into the company's automated procurement system. Procurement department generate all purchase orders over 50,000. Over 50,000 procurement orders Ghana. These orders are entered to the company's automated procurement system. Now we have to see whether there are any segregation of duties, physical controls, approvals, management controls, like limits in place. You know the reconciliations. The system automatically routes purchase orders exceeding 50,000 to senior management, CEO, CFO for approval. Approvals are recorded in the system, maintaining an audit trail of initiators, approvers, or approval dates. Purchase order raised, it sends for approval. There is an audit trail. You can track who generated it. Or a track කරගන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි කවුද මේක generate කරේ, who approved it. You can track it. Senior management receives automated reminders for pending approvals. What are not approved? There is a reminder system. Once approved, the purchase order is forwarded to the vendor and the finance department for payment process. What are the issues? Payment purchase order is sent to the approver. Once it is approved, it will go directly to the supplier and finance department for payment processing. While the system tracks, monitors the approval, there have been instances where approvals were delayed, particularly when the senior management team is unable for review. Additionally, in emergency situations, this process has been bypassed. In emergency process situations, emergency, quickly you have to buy. This process has been bypassed and the approval process has not been consistently followed. The procurement system lacks secondary approval layer. Alternate approval, meaning that in cases where the senior management is unavailable, orders can be delayed, but they can still be processed after some period of time without additional oversight. What are the weaknesses you have identified? Weaknesses. Can I have your response? I will give you 3 minutes. Pat quickly type in your chat box. What are the weaknesses you found? Chat box එකේ දාන්න බලන්න මම මොනවද ඔයාලට හම්බෙච්ච weaknesses? What are the weaknesses you found? Yeah, good. See, students, up to 50,000 may system තියෙන්නේ. Below 50,000 you don't have anything. එතකොට කට්ටිය මොකද කරන්න පුළුවන්? 49,000 10ක් විතර ගන්න පුළුවන්, right? එතකොට කෙලිම 500,000. So no process followed. So uniformity should be there. And also students, there is no proper supplier selection process. Supplier selection has to be there. Supplier select කරන්න ඕන. Allowing CEO, CFO, one person to approve is a critical risk. Ideally, this should be approved by a committee. Then at least 2 people joint approval has to be there. Joint approval, committee approval, ratifications has to be there. Then what? You should not allow to bypass this system. If it is urgent, yes, you have to urgent approvals, you have to process in the same system. And the other thing, students, when the purchase order goes, purchase order ගියාට පස්සේ simultaneously it goes for payment as well. එහෙම බෑ. Goods received note has to be there. Once you have a received note, purchase order, right? Purchase order, goods received note, supply invoice, so තුනම තිබුණොත්. If you have all these three only, you have to make the payment. Three-way matching has to happen. No proper supply selection. Below 50,000, there is no process, so people can manipulate the process. No three-way matching. No alternate approval, amai. Lot of issues. Pahak liyamuda. Shall we write down 5? Right? So let's write down, student. Right there. Good job, everybody. Right? Niyamai. Kattige. Answer so that, yeah. So let's write down. The following design and implementation weaknesses identified. The following design and implementation weaknesses identified. The following design and implementation weaknesses identified. Number 1. The threshold of rupees 50,000 of purchase orders. The threshold of rupees 50,000 of purchase orders threshold of rupees 50,000 purchase orders can be manipulated. Can be manipulated where low valued multiple purchase orders can be processed without approval. Low valued multiple purchase orders low valued multiple purchase orders can be processed without approval. Number 1. Number 2, allowing approval allowing approval to one person. One person lacks segregation of duties. Allowing approvals for one person lacks segregation of duties. Frauds also can happen. Frauds also can happen. Next one, number 3. Number 3, deviating from standard approval process. Deviating from the standard approval process. Deviating from standard approval process for urgent procurements. For urgent approvals. For urgent approvals. Will create frauds and misappropriation of funds. Next one. Allowing making payments. allowing making payments without a three-way matching or goods received note. Where payments can be processed without goods received. Where payments can be processed without goods received. Next one. When senior management is not available, when senior management is not available, processing the payments without approval. When senior management is not available, processing the payments without approval can create frauds, can create frauds, and at least An alternative approver should be available. An alternative approver should be available. An alternative approver should be available. Students, let's move to the next one, right? අපි පුළුවන් තරමක් කතා කරමු ළමයි. See question number 3. Any question on that? Sorry, any area to be cleared in the earlier question? ඉස්සර එකේ මොනවාරි දිනවල ළමයි clear කරගන්න. It's an internal control question. Any area to be cleared? No, right? Right. Let's move, students. Question number 3. No need on impact and recommendation, right, Raza? No need, because examiner hasn't asked it. Examiner asked only, impact. He has asked only what is the issue. Issue not recommendations. So don't waste your time, right? Velawan astikarande depa recommendations liyanna, right? Ahapu prashnata uttara liyanna on, right? You have to answer only to the question that he has asked. See, analyze the design and implementation of the purchase order process, right? Not that recommendations neme aladin, right? So therefore be very careful when you are writing, right? Good. So let's move. Question number A and B. You are required to A, assess the most appropriate type. Assess the most appropriate type of engagement the external auditors of Electro Private Limited shall undertake to meet the expectations of the management. What is the most appropriate type of engagement? Engagement කරන්න. So this is a question which may be coming from assurance engagement topic, right? Assurance engagement topic ke again a question there, lamai. So what type of engagement that you got to do? See. B, explain how the data analytics software can assist in planning a financial statement audit of Electro. How data analytics software, students, audit data analytics, ADA, how you can use it for auditing this particular scenario. We all know audit data analytics. If you do, students, 100% of the transactions you can test. Audit data analytics පාවිච්චි කරොත් ළමයි transactions 100% ඔයාලා test කරන්න පුළුවන්. So how you are going to use audit data analytics in the given scenario? See everybody. So what sort of engagement you got to do? How you are going to use audit data analytics? See, Electro Private Limited, again a private limited, not a listed company. Electro is a small to medium-sized company that manufactures and sells electronic components. Over the past year, the company has experienced significant growth and now faces challenges related to tracking its increased volume of sales and inventory. So now they are finding it difficult to track their volume of sales and inventory. The finance department has been using a basic accounting system, but there are concerns about the accuracy of the sales revenue and inventory data. As part of their ongoing efforts to improve internal controls and ensure accurate financial reporting, Electro has performed certain activities on sales and inventory area and require the auditor or a practitioner to perform specific procedures on their sales and inventory records. Practitioner to do specific procedures on sales and inventory. Electro has requested the auditor to focus on following two areas, but does not expect an assurance on those. No assurance requested, only procedures to perform. Lamai, without reading anything, what is the engagement that you have to do? No assurance needed, only procedures agreed with the client. What is the engagement that to do? What is the engagement? Sri Lanka standards on related services revised 4,400, agreed upon procedure students, no assurance given. Okay. So, right? Sales transactions, the management asked the auditor or the practitioner to match the sales transactions recorded in the accounting system with corresponding invoice, delivery note, and customer payments for the last quarter. For this, management has prepared a sales transaction report. So match, reconcile match what? Transaction recorded in the system with the relevant invoice and delivery note. Do a reconciliation, no assurance, only procedures. Inventory reconciliation, where the auditor is also tasked to check the inventory reconciliation performed by the management. Electro has provided the auditor with the access to company's accounting system and inventory management software. Electro has a large volumes of transaction data related to sales and inventory. The auditor expects to use data analytics software, including audit computer assisted auditing techniques, CAAT, computer assisted auditing techniques, in performing the audit of the financial statements. So no assurance required, Lamai. Assurance avashya nahi. Only procedures to be performed as agreed with the auditor and the management. So you got to perform agreed upon procedures only. So answer to part A, write down students. In the given scenario, in the given scenario, no assurance is required by the client. No assurance required by the client. Whereas the practitioner, within brackets auditor, the practitioner auditor is expected to perform procedures is expected to perform procedures which are agreed with the client. Which includes reconciliations of sales transactions, which includes reconciliations of sales transactions, reconciliations of sales transactions, as well as reconciliation of inventory. As such, as such, and write in a different color, students. When I'm parting, as such, an agreed upon procedures has to be performed. An agreed upon procedures has to be performed as per agreed upon procedures has to be performed as per Sri Lanka standards on related services. Sri Lanka standards on related services 4400 revised. Sri Lanka standards on related services 4400. It's a revised standard, students. Arne, lakunu pai, right? 5 marks. See, look at part B, everybody. Part B, balan. Explain how the data analytics software can assist in planning and audit of financial statements. Planning, audit plan එකේ කොහමද ළමයි data analytics software ඔයා use කරන්නේ. Now, when you use data analytics software, students, what can happen? 100% of the data in sales, inventory, you can analyze. 100% of the data you can analyze. So you know in audit planning stage, may audit planning, මෙතන හොඳට බලා ගන්න තමයි not in any other stage. වෙන stage එක නෙමෙයි planning stage එකේ කොහමද මේක use කරන්නේ data analytics. planning stage එකේ මොකද කරන්නේ ළමයි? You assess the risk of material misstatements. ඔයා ළමයි risk assess, right? You assess the risk of material misstatements. So when you are assessing the risk of material misstatements, students, you can use this as an analytical procedure, preliminary analytical procedure. ඔයාට මේක preliminary analytical procedure එකක් විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? When you are assessing the risk. Get my point? So you can, let's say, analyze, maybe perform some ratio analysis, sales growth rate, maybe receivables collection period, year on year you can match, right? You can, let's say, for sales, you can analyze maybe region wise, maybe customer wise, maybe, let's say, sales representative wise, location wise, analyze the data. You can assess the risk by performing preliminary analytical procedures for risk assessment purpose. You can use data analytics and computer assisted auditing techniques. Shall we write down? So write down. Audit planning, planning වෙලාවේ විතරයි, not in substantive procedures or anything. So write there, everybody. Clear ළමයි? So write down. Audit data analytics can be performed at the audit planning stage. At the audit planning stage, as a mechanism of write in different color. Risk assessment and analytical procedures. Mechanism of risk assessment and analytical procedures. Mechanism of risk assessment and analytical procedures. Where at the preliminary planning stage of the audit, at the preliminary planning stage of the audit. Auditor can use audit data analytics and computer assisted auditing techniques. And computer assisted auditing techniques. Computer assisted auditing techniques to analyze the data patterns and trends. To analyze the data patterns and trends. To analyze the data patterns and trends. Which will lead to identification of risks. Which will lead to identification of risks. Risks of material misstatements and fraud risk. Risk of material misstatements and fraud risk. Right. Go to question number 4, right? I think we have answered question number 3 full. Students, question number 4. And before that, there were some questions by you all, right? Where you have asked whether is it required to write down the standard number. Standard number, right? My advice, if you can write, that's better, right? If you can write the standard number, it's better. Right? That make a mandatory manner. If you can write down the standard number, it would be better. Yeah. So then right? Better if you can provide, right? Standard number right? SLS RS 4400 revised right? It adds some value to your answer. Only that, right? Look at part A. Explain, question 4, part A. Explain how would you prepare for and support the engagement quality review EQR process for alpha audit engagement. Sri Lanka standards on quality management number 1. Sri Lanka standards on quality management number 2. In firm level and engagement level quality management, as well as students audit documentation Sri Lanka auditing standard number 220. ඔය standards තුනෙන් තමයි මොනවාරි කරකවලා දෙන්නේ SLSQM1 SLSQM2 as well as SLAUS 220, right? Quality management. ඔය එතකොට දැන් බලා ගන්නකොට engagement quality reviewer, engagement partner responsibility ළමයි, can you remember? Firm level you need to have a quality reviewer, EQR, engagement quality reviewer has to be there. Direction, supervision and review, consultation. Firm top level students, firm leadership, how do they have to ensure quality review? Then students, you need to have an engagement performance, direction, supervision and review and consultation. Remember that, students? Then reviews, how to perform it, all these things, right? Documentation, how to prepare documentation. And HR practices, right? Like staff motivation, performance evaluation, and all sorts of stuff. Comma. Right? So let's write down. So examiner asking, explain how would you prepare for and support the engagement quality review process for alpha audit engagement. කොහොමද මේ alpha quality review එක ඔයා කරන්නේ? You are an audit senior at a large public accounting firm. You are an audit senior of a large public audit firm, right? Your firm has been appointed to conduct the annual audit of Alpha Private Limited. Alpha Private Limited එකේ annual audit එකට ඔයාව දාලා තියෙනවා. Alpha is a medium-sized manufacturing company. Alpha has recently expanded into international markets, which has introduced new complexities in their financial reporting. Students, client's risk profile has now changed. Client risk profile එක දැන් change වෙලා තියෙන. Client has gone into overseas markets. Overseas market එකට ගිහලා තියෙන්නේ, which has introduced new complexities in their financial reporting. Additionally, Alpha has been facing some challenges related to inventory valuation and revenue recognition, particularly around long-term contracts. Right? Inventory valuation. ඔයා හැම එකේම මෙයාට ප්‍රශ්න ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. You are responsible for managing the audit engagement with the guidance, leadership provided by the engagement partner, audit partner, and ensuring the work meets both professional auditing standards and your firm's internal quality control procedures. The audit tech කරන්න as per the auditing standards as well as quality standards as well. You will also need to handle any ethical issues that arise during the course of the audit. Any independence issue that is coming in, ethical issues, you have to address that as well. The audit team has completed the field work. Field work එක කරලා ඉවරයි. You are preparing the audit for the final review of the audit before issuing the opinion. Now, final review is done. The firm has a quality control framework in place. So, firm has a quality control framework in place to ensure that all audits comply with professional standards and internal policies. The audit professional standards are as part of the firm's policies. An engagement quality review must be conducted for this high risk engagement. Why client is now moving on to overseas markets. Engagement quality review is carried out by a senior partner who will review key aspects of the audit engagement to ensure that the audit opinion is supported by sufficient evidence and that all significant issues have been properly addressed. Explain how would you prepare for and support quality review process of alpha engagement. First and foremost, students, there is a formal quality review process in the firm where prior to any engagement sign off by the audit opinion is signed off by the engagement partner. Engagement partner opinion sign කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා ළමයි prior to engagement partner signing off the opinion, there has to be quality review done. Ideally, you now have to prepare for this quality review. You have to support it. First and foremost, adequate documentation has to be there. Documentation should be completed. Audit findings has to be summarized, right? And whatever quality review partner asked questions, you need to provide answers. Representation should be given, right? So key matters that you have identified during the audit should be brought to the quality review partner. Documentation complete current documentation lamai. Number 2, key audit findings should be presented to the quality review partner. Any inquiries of the quality review partner, you have to analyze, you have to respond, and students get the signing of quality review partner. So proper review will be ensured like that. Summarize the documentation. Quality review partner, his queries should be addressed. Queries to address කරන්න ඕන. right? And if you found any significant matters during the audit, it should be presented to him. Tilini, your answer is okay, right? Ekahari. Do it in that way, right? No problem. So start with proper documentation, summarize your findings, and then come up with your suggestions, answer to quality review partners' queries. Before engagement partner signs, get your signature as well. This is called as hot review of work. Before sign off, get the review. Right? So write down, students. Lian Lamai. Yes. You don't correct, right? Working paper should also be presented. Working paper file. That's why I told you. Documentation should be fulfilled. So write down. As per SLS QM1 and SLS QM2. As per SLS QM1 and SLS QM2, in order to perform, and support the engagement quality review, to support the engagement quality review by the quality review partner, the following actions should be taken. The following actions should be taken. Number one, ensure adequate documentation is being complete. Ensure adequate documentation is being completed. with audit working papers, have been completed. Working papers have been completed. Working papers have been completed. Number 2, second one, significant audit findings. Significant audit findings should be summarized. Significant audit findings should be summarized. Significant audit findings should be summarized, as well as those should be brought to the attention of, those should be brought to the attention of should be brought to the attention of should be brought to the attention of the engagement quality review partner. Brought to the attention of the engagement quality review partner. Number 3, the significant queries raised by quality review partner. The significant queries raised by the quality review partner the significant queries raised by the quality review partner has to be addressed by the audit manager. Has to be addressed by the audit manager. ළමයි එයා අහන ප්‍රශ්නවලට අපි උත්තර දෙන්න ඕන, right? Has to be addressed by the audit manager. Fourth one, Once all the queries of the once all the queries of quality review partner, once all the queries of the quality review partner once all the queries of the quality review partner is being addressed, is being addressed, comma, the opinion should be finalized. The opinion should be finalized. The opinion should be finalized. Full stop. Right? Done? Udita, yes. Okay. Put that point as well. A point are done. Okay. No problem. So students, quality control area, remember, really important. Normally, I have seen students, sometimes quality control area, you guys do not go through well. So remember, study pack is there. CA Sri Lanka has provided all these materials. Use that material and write down the perfect answer through quality control. Get the maximum, right? Are lazy maker. So get the maximum, right? Look at part B. Part B, analyze the ethical threats. Threats to independence applicable to the audit of alpha, impacting the compliance with the fundamental ethical principles of professional accountants in public practice, and measures to mitigate the threats. So analyze the threat and what are the mitigating actions. මෙන්න මෙතන ඔයාලට පුළුවන් ළමයි. අර ඉස්සෙල්ලා internal control question එක අපි කිව්වේ. One student has asked, no, why sir you are not proposing any mitigating actions? ඒක අහලා තිබුණේ නැහැ. So no point of wasting your time. Now here examiner asked, what are the threats and what are your safeguards? What are the mitigating actions? So shall we read? During the audit of Alpha, you have noted the following. The firm provided consulting services to Alpha Private Limited. You are the statutory auditor and also you are providing consulting services to Alpha Private Limited for a new inventory tracking system. You are providing consulting services on inventory tracking system and the fees earned was substantial. One of your senior auditors has worked with Alpha for 5 years. Senior 5 years in the and has developed close relationship with CFO and key employees. What are the threats there? මෙතන තියෙන threats මොනවද ළමයි? What are the threats here? Can I have your response part? පට ගාලා response එක ගන්න පුළුවන්ද ළමයි? What are threats here? What's that? Yes. There is self-review. Self-review threat how? One thing, you have done consulting on inventory tracking system. The reports generated through that inventory tracking system, now you are auditing as auditor. Self-review threat. And one of your seniors has worked for that particular firm for 5 years and now he is auditing. And that self-review threat is there. And there is a familiarity threat. Those people are known to each other. And fees are significant. Significant fee income, 15% of additional lamai. That again self-interest threat. Ideally, what should happen? What are safeguards? Number one, quality control review has to happen. Number two, Separate services should be given by separate teams. So better to have a Chinese wall, separate teams, separate partners has to do it. Okay. Independent review also has to happen. Better to rotate your partners and teams as well. So shall we write down? Right there. Self-review. Everybody heading එකක් දාමු ළමයි. Self-review. Comma. Self-interest. And familiarity threat is observed. And familiarity threat is observed. Below that, write down. පළයන් ලියන්න ළමයි. Write down. Providing consulting services on new inventory tracking system. Providing consultancy services on new inventory tracking system. Providing consulting services on new inventory tracking system. And subsequently auditing them creates a self-review thread. Subsequently auditing them creates a self-review thread. Subsequently auditing them creates self-review thread. Next line. Having closer relationship with clients CFO. Having closer relationship with clients CFO and key employees. Having closer relationship with clients CFO and employees creates familiarity threat. Creates familiarity threat. ඒකෙන් ළමයි familiarity threat එකක් එනවා. Next line. Generating a significant fee income. Generating a significant fee income creates a self-interest threat. Next line, write down, students, safeguards. Write down safeguards. Number 1, safeguard number 1, performing an independent quality review. Performing an independent quality review. Number 2, second one, segregation of audit and non-assurance services. Segregation of audit and non-assurance services with separate partners and teams. Next one, periodic rotation of audit partners and audit team members. Periodic rotation of audit partners and team members. Right. Great. Students, question number 5, 6, and 7, I will explain you how to write down the answers, right? In the interest of time. I will tell you how to develop the answer and I will tell you what's the answer. You better write down that particular answer as well, right? Answer I will give you the way to generate the answer, right? Answer generate support karanda. Look at question number 5. 5, look at the examiner's requirement. Requirement A, apply the concept of materiality. Sri Lanka auditing standard number 320, audit materiality. Students, overall materiality, performance materiality, and trivial threshold. Using that, you have to develop your answer. Use answer develop karamu. Sorry, guys. So, Sri Lanka auditing standards on audit materiality. Apply the concept of materiality in planning and performing the audit of Sigma Limited, considering the risk identified in the scenario. So, overall materiality set based on chosen benchmarks. Benchmarks pavichikala like 5% of profit before tax, 1% of revenue. Likewise, you develop your materiality. Then performance materiality at lower levels, and you, based on the materiality only, you perform your audit procedures and your audit evidence is evaluated. See, you are part of the audit team of Sigma PLC, a manufacturing company. The company has recently expanded its operations and its revenue has increased by 30% this year. Revenue increasing by 30% means, students, revenue is a significant risk area. Sri Lanka's financial reporting standard number 15, Sri Lanka accounting standard number 15, revenue, when that increases by 30%, significant risk area. During the audit planning phase, you are in the process of reviewing the financial statements and assess the risk of material misstatements. The financial statements show a revenue increase primarily driven by new international market. Increase generated from overseas sales, exports. However, the company's internal control environment has been identified as weak due to rapid growth, especially in the new foreign operation. Lamai, controls are weak. Controls are inaccurate. So that means you have to go for substantive detailed testing. You have to test assertions. Assertions test karannat tona. The audit team has identified several potential risks related to foreign exchange transactions, new inventory controls, and related party transactions that may not be fully documented. In the planning meeting, the audit partner asks you to consider how to apply materiality to audit procedures in the context of Sigma. Lamai, how to apply materiality? Now here, revenue is significant risk area, Lamai, because why? Overseas operations, weak internal controls. දැන් මම මේ කියන points ටික ලියා ගන්නත් බලා ගන්න. මම කියනකොටම ඔයගොල්ලෝ short form එකෙන් ලියා ගන්න. ළමයි, here, how about the risk of material misstatements on revenue? Revenue wala risk of material misstatements, how? Is it high risk of material misstatements or low risk of material misstatements? Risk of material misstatements, high or low? What's your suggestion? High or low? If the risk of material misstatements are high with regard to revenue, what should you do to materiality in order to reduce your audit risk? Audit risk එක අඩු කරන්න ළමයි ඔයා materiality එකට මොකද කරන්න ඕන? When the risk is high, should you have a higher materiality level or a lower materiality level? Get your answer. Get your answer, everybody. Right? Comment නැතුව type කරන්න. Because you have to write down the answer here by alone. When the risk of material misstatements is high due to significant audit risk with regard to revenue, what should you do for your materiality? Materiality should be brought down, lower level of materiality. Got my point? When you bring down your materiality only, you will identify more misstatements. So tell the examiner, යාට මෙහෙම කියන්න ළමයි, right? මේ මම කියනකොට ඕනනම් important points ටික ලියා ගන්න. Right? Risk of material misstatements with regard to revenue is high. ඒක කියන්න. If the risk of material misstatements on revenue is high, audit risk is high. Because we know audit risk is a multiplication of inherent risk into control risk into detection risk. When the risk on revenue is high, audit risk is high, so you need to bring down the audit risk. So one way of bringing down the audit risk is reducing the level of planning and performance materiality. Materiality ka adu karanna kiya. So you test more items and the risk can be reduced. ඔය විදිහට answer එක ලියන්න. Agree? හරි නේද? Go to part B. Part B බලමු. Right? Part A එක ආයි මම කිව්වොත් revenue significant risk is there, high inherent risk, so audit risk is high, So you need to bring it down. How do you bring it down? Reduce the materiality level. Expand it and write Sri Lanka auditing standard number 320. Look at part B. Apply the concept of key audit matter. Sri Lanka auditing standard number 701. Key audit matter in the audit of Sigma PLC, considering the information available in the scenario. Right? Key audit matters SLA US 701, the method done. Right? See. You have noted the following. The company has performed a transfer pricing assessment by consulting a tax expert to ensure that the transfer pricing regulations are complied. Regulations complied. Given the differences in the terms of the transactions, example, credit period, credit limit, etc., the management decided it is not appropriate to disclose the financial statements that the related party transactions are carried out on arm's length basis. The audit partner has asked you to apply the concept of key audit matter to this audit. Lamai, can you put a key audit matter here? Yes. With regard to transfer pricing and revenue students anyway, transfer pricing affects revenue, no? Noted following, the company has performed a transfer pricing assessment by consulting tax experts to ensure that the transfer pricing regulations are complied. Regulations complied. Regulations, when they comply, is there a misstatement? Regulation comply nallama misstatement එකක් තියනවද? No misstatement. No misstatement. But students, transfer pricing and revenue is a significant risk. So that's a key audit matter then. Because what we put as key audit matter, SLA US 701, are situations where, as per auditor's professional judgment, are the most significant matters in the audit, right? Most significant matters in the audit that the shareholders should know. And also, it should not be a misstatement. Misstatement when bad. Now, revenue is here, lamai, right? Revenue එක misstatement එකක් වෙලා නැහැ, but significant risk is there. So what? It's a key audit matter. ඒක key audit matter. ඔයා examiner එකට කියන්න ඕන මේක ලියා ගන්න නිකන් point form එකේ revenue significant risk 30% increase international sales, right, as well as transfer pricing mechanism which is complied. So no misstatement, comply වෙලා තියෙන්නේ, misstatement එකක් නැහැ. So therefore key audit matter. දෙවෙනි එක බලන්න ළමයි. Second point. Given the differences in the terms of the transactions, credit period, the credit limit, the management decided it is not appropriate to disclose in the financial statements the related party transactions which are not on arm's length basis. ළමයි, related party transactions disclose කළා නැහැ. Is it a key audit matter or is it a modified opinion? Related party transactions not disclosed. Make a key audit matter දාන්න පුළුවන්ද ළමයි? Is it a misstatement? What's your answer? දෙන්න බලන්න answer එක. මේක හරියට දුන්නොත් exam pass වෙනවා. Give me your answer. Is it a key audit matter or modified opinion due to misstatement? Because why? Related party transactions not disclosed. Is it a significant risk? Make a significant risk එකක්ද ළමයි? Or is it material misstatement? Material misstatement, students. It's not a cam නෙමෙයි. Make a cam නෙමෙයි ළමයි. It's a material misstatement. Why related party transaction not disclosed? It's not a significant risk. It's a misstatement, qualified opinion, material misstatement, qualified opinion. ඒකල් ලියා ගන්න. Material misstatement, qualified opinion. පළවෙනි එක key audit matter ළමයි, දෙවෙනි එක material misstatement. Right? Yes, roughly. Right? So better to go with the material misstatement on second. First one key audit matter, second one material misstatement. Go to question number 6. See. Just give me a moment. Question number 6, part A. Assess the risk of material misstatements, including the fraud. The auditor of the company shall focus on its audit. Risk of material misstatements analyze කරන්න තියෙන ළමයි, including the fraud risk. What are the relevant standards for this? මේකට relevant standards මොනවද ළමයි? To do that, to do this risk assessment, what are the relevant standards? SLA is 315, 330, fraud none 240, 3, right? Very good, guys, right? 240, 200, 315, 300. Well, standard ටික හොඳට බලා ගන්න, right? 200, 240, 315, 330, right? Well, standard ටික හොඳට බලා ගන්න. So we have to assess risk of material misstatement, including fraud. ළමයි, when I say risk of material misstatement, what are those risks? Risk of material misstatements කියපු ගමන් මොනවද ඒ risk ටික ළමයි? Can I have a response? Risk of material misstatements කියන්නේ මොනවද? Inherent risk and control risk, where management can deviate from the accounting framework, right? Audit risk එක එන්නේ එමය. So shall we identify them? බලමුද? Wave Tech Limited, the company, is a mid-size retail company specializing in consumer electronics. They are specialized in consumer electronics. Over the past 18 months, the company has been expanding rapidly. Rapid expansion like the earlier one. Launching new product lines and increasing its online sales presence. The company has also introduced new promotional schemes to boost sales, particularly in lead up to holiday season. The following were noted by the auditors of the company in gathering information in the risk assessment process. Then after risk of material misstatements, there has been instances where large orders from customers, including bulk sales to corporate clients, were booked as revenue, even though the goods has not been delivered or were only partially delivered. These transactions were recorded just before the end of the financial year to meet the sales targets. What's this? Can you tell me what's this risk of material misstatements ළමයි? මේකට අපි කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? They artificially increase the sales by bulk orders. මොකද්ද මෙතන impact වෙච්ච assertion එක? What's the assertion impacted? Revenue recognition, SLFRS 15, cut off, window dressing. Window dressing, cut off is the assertion. Overstating of revenue, risk of material misstatements, overstating of revenue, window dressing, overstatement of revenue. Revenue cut off misstated. Two, despite robust internal controls being in place, discrepancies were noted during the year-end stock count. Stock count discrepancies were there. Recorded inventory is not there in the warehouse. Existence of inventory overstated. The discrepancy was most significant in high-value electronics, with the inventory count showing significantly higher quantities than expected base sales trends. හිතුවට වඩා වැඩිපුර inventory තියෙනවා high valued electronic items. විකිනෙන්නේ නැහැ. Slow moving, obsolete. There had been also reports of stocks being written off due to damage, though the items were still found on the shelves days later. Written off items still there. Obsolete stock, inventory overstatement, profit overstated, current assets overstated. Slow moving inventory, obsolete stock still there. My inventory overstatement, material misstatement. When you are answering a risk assessment question, you have to say which assertion overstated or understated. Earlier one, revenue overstated. Next, this one, inventory overstated. You have to say which assertion, valuation overstated. C number 3. There is a significant pressure on management to meet ambitious quarterly performance targets. Window dressing, no performance. As their bonus is tied directly on achieving specific financial milestones. The senior management has been known to impose pressure on lower level employees to achieve sales targets, particularly at quarter end. What's this risk? Pressurizing management, fraud risk, fraudulent financial, what? Fraud risk, fraudulent financial reporting. Very good, very good. Right? Pressure on the management. Lamai, can you remember fraud triangle? Fraud triangle, what are the 3 most corner points? Fraud triangle corners තුන. Can you remember? Fraud triangle corner points තුන මතක කට්ටිය ලියන්න බලන්න ළමයි. Type it. Opportunity, rationale and motivation. Go to third one. Sorry, fourth one. Number 4. The suppliers of the company raised concern over the delayed payments and inconsistent over order patterns. Although no formal agreements have been made, suppliers are offering larger than usual discounts to the company in order to maintain business relationships. Unusual discounts are also given. Lamai, මෙතන තියෙන fraud එක මොකක්ද? Orders which are irregular pattern. ඒ කියන්නේ ළමයි මාස 3කට සැරයක bulk quantity ගන්නවා. When you purchase in bulk, what can happen? මාසෙට ඕන ගාන ගන්න නැතුව ළමයි එකපාර ගොඩක් ගන්නවා. What risk is there? Fraud risk. Underhand discount නෙමෙයි මොනවද? Underhand මොනවද දෙන්නේ? වැඩිපුර ගන්නකොට. When you purchase in bulk in irregular manner එකේ bulk ගන්නකොට 100 ගානේ ගන්න නැතුව ළමයි එකපාර 5000ක් ගන්නවා. What happened? Underhand bribe, commission, kickback, opportunity for fraud, right? Opportunity for fraud risk. Kickback, bribe. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ ළමයි? ලංකාවේ ඉස්පිරිතාල වගේ. What will happen? සමහර බෙහෙත් නැහැ. සමහර බෙහෙත් ඕනෝටත් වැඩිය තියෙනවා ළමයි. Certain medicines are not there. Certain medicines more than your requirement is there. Getting my point? Yes. Bribes, commissions. Okay. The recent internal whistleblower complaint has raised concern about the accuracy of sales reporting and inventory levels. Whistleblower. Anonymously someone has complained. Whistleblower means students anonymously complain එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. නමක් ගමක් නැතුව complaint එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා about sales and inventory. employees have raised concern that certain sales have been recognized too early and inventory have been overstated to meet internal targets that we discussed. So inventory overstatement, sales overstatement, fraud risk with regard to procurement, fraud risk with regard to students, window dressing, all those are there. Pretty clear. Go to next. Look at next. Part B. You are required to outline the audit procedures the auditor will perform to address the risk of material misstatements relating to valuation and allocation, 3 procedures, and the existence of the intangible assertion of the intangible assets. So valuation and allocation and existence of intangible assets. There audit procedures කියන්න ඕන ළමයි. Valuation එකට මොනවද? Existence වලට මොනවද? See. Recently, the company developed new software to facilitate its online sales operations. New software developed for facilitating online sales operation. The software designed to improve e-commerce functionality and manage customer transactions was internally developed. So internally developed lamai, so intangible asset. But you need to see whether that software meets the recognition criteria of intangible asset, whether it is generating future economic benefits, future cash flows. The cost incurred during development include salaries, internal development team members, external consultants, and testing expenses. The company believes the software will significantly improve efficiency and provide ongoing future economic benefits as well. The development cost was capitalized. The development cost was capitalized in line with LK's 38 intangible assets, and the capitalized amount is material. If it is material, if any misstatement happened, it will impact the audit opinion. The software is disclosed as intangible assets software development in the financial statements. Outline the audit procedures the auditor will perform to verify valuation and allocation and existence. ළමයි මේක valuation වලට ඔයාලට දාන්න පුළුවන් procedures මොනවද? To see whether the valuation is accurate. What are the procedures you can do? Number 1. මෙන්න මේ procedures ටික කරන්න පුළුවන්. Valuation එකට ළමයි. Number 1. Read, review all the cost cards where the total costs were capitalized. Review the cost cards and inspect them with source documents. Cost cards, costing schedule, students take it and inspect, correspond that with the relevant supporting documents. Right? Maybe supporting documents එක check කරලා බලන්න ළමයි. Then students, all calculations of costing calculations, like let's say per hours worked, employees, how many hours worked multiplied by rate per hour, recalculate those values. A values recalculate karna hai. Capitalized values, you recalculate. A values tika recalculate karna. Sometimes if you don't have an expert knowledge on software valuation, hire a professional valuer and get a valuation certificate. Professional valuer කෙනෙක් කරන් ළමයි valuation certificate එකක් ගන්න for the intangible asset. Professional valuer valuation certificate, recalculate the value, inspect the documents, ඒ ටික කරන් ළමයි. In addition to that, see whether testing of impairment has been done. Impairment testing, amortization testing, see whether impairment testing was done to see whether valuation properly done. Right? Impairment and amortization ඒවත් test කරන්න ඕන. Yes, independent review එකක් කළාත් බලන්න පුළුවන්, right? No problem at all. So A procedures ටික valuation එකට කරන්න. For existence what you can do? මේක existence එකට ඔයාලා මොකද කරන්න පුළුවන්? Existence බලන්න ළමයි, you go and observe the software. Software එක observe කරන්න. Go and observe the software, how it is functioning. Whether it is functioning properly. Sometimes softwares are developed, but those are not functional, dysfunctional. So observe, use your IT security, IT expert auditors. Okay, IT expert audit team එක අරන් යන්න. Ask them to do some transactions in the particular system and see whether the system is operating properly. Existence. Right? Team එක අරයි. IT auditors. Take your IT auditors and see whether the system is performing. Existence. Right? Great. Shall we move to question number 7? හතට යන්නද අපි? Sorry. 6 part C. Look at it. Part C. අපි ටිකක් වෙලා ටිකක් ඉක්මනට යන්න ළමයි. Assess whether you agree with the draft opinion including the auditor's report on the financial statements of Wave Tech Private Limited. Whether you agree with the audit opinion. ඔයා මේ opinion එකත් එක්ක agree වෙනවද ළමයි? Let's see. As part of the audit procedures, the auditor identified significant difficulties in collecting receivables. Significant difficulties in collecting receivables, particularly from a group of long-standing debt totaling 16 million. ළමයි, debtors ලගෙන් collections කරගන්න අමාරු. 16 million. එහෙමනම් which risk we have? මෙතන අපිට තියෙන risk එක මොකද ළමයි? Risk of bad and doubtful debts, valuation of receivables, impairment of receivables risk is there. 16 million value. 16 million බලන්න ඕනේ මේක material or not. Some of these debts have been outstanding for several months. ඒ කියන්නේ ගෙවන්න නැහැ ළමයි මේක. They don't pay no. Impairment. And the company has not received confirmation of their existence. මේක value එකක් නැහැ. Existence උත් නැහැ. From the respective debtors. We don't know whether these debtors are existing even. Given the aging of these receivables, the company has not yet recognized any impairment losses, although management believes the portion of these debtors may be irrecoverable. සත්ත පහක් recover කරලා නැහැ ළමයි. 16 million still in the books. Overstating of receivables 16 million. Materiality level for the audit is 15 million. Performance material 10.5 million. So this is material. The 200 million in outstanding and possibly non-existent debts exceeds the material threshold for the audit, indicating potential misstatement that could materially impact the financial statements. If this is adjusted, the company will not be able to meet the expected dividend payments for the year. Misstatement, which is material lamai. The auditor has drafted the following paragraph to the audit report. In our opinion, except for the effect of the matter described in the basis for qualified opinion section regarding the impairment of rupees 200 million in long outstanding receivable, the financial statements present fairly. Lamai, do you agree with this opinion? My question, are you agreeing with this opinion? And why? Agree or not? Agree or not? And why? Here you have a misstatement which is material. මෙතන misstatement එකක් තියෙනවා ළමයි. Material. What is the misstatement? Receivables overstated. Long outstanding debtor is there. A debtor overstate වෙලා ඉන්නේ ළමයි. Impairment not recognized. 16 million above the materiality level. So what? Misstatement which is material. Qualified opinion එකකට යන්න ඕන. Right? Okay. So you say except for the basis of opinion with regard to debtors, receivables, right? Long-standing debtors, misstatement, material. Make a pervasive nෑ ළමයි. This is not pervasive for you to go for adverse opinion. So misstatement, material, qualified opinion, which I think auditors have provided. Yes, you agree with that. So misstatement, material, not pervasive, qualified opinion. Auditors have provided it. Agree with that. They can agree with. You agree with it, right? Exam make a agree වෙන්න පුළුවන් එකක් හම්බුනාමයි. Good job. Look at question number 7. 7 බලමු. අපිට ඉක්මනට යන්න ළමයි. පුළුවන් තරම් තව විනාඩි 5ක් වගේ ඇතුළත අපි ඉවර කරගමු. Assess whether the sample selection to send the debtors confirmation are appropriate. Whether the sample selected appropriate or not. මේ sample එක appropriate ද නැද්ද? මතකයි නේ ළමයි, when we are selecting samples for receivables confirmation and circularization, there has to be negative balances included, long outstanding balances included. What else? තව මොනවද? Already paid up balances should be included. Large volume, large value debtors should be included. Debtors paid by the date 31st March should be included. Already paid up debtors should be included. Every representative sample of debtors should be included, right? Representative nil balances, zero balances, large volume, everybody should be there. See, Innovative Solutions Limited, Innovative is a growing tech services company that provides custom software cloud solutions and IT consulting primarily to mid to large enterprises, government bodies, and large non-profit organizations. Its financial year ends on 30th June 2024, and the company is undergoing its first audit by equal partners. The financials have been previously has been audited by different auditors. The key details include trade receivables as of 30th June 2024. The company has 400 million in trade receivables, mainly from long-term contracts, 12 to 36 months, with milestones billing. New contracts. Several new contracts with government and large international clients have added 1 billion in receivables. Disputed receivables. High-tech limited disputes, 20 million due delivery delays. Disputed receivables also there. New contracts also there. Large contracts also there. ERP and revenue recognition. The company recently implemented a new ERP system, and there are concerns about revenue recognition, especially in milestone-based contracts. Internal control issues. The ERP system is still being integrated with delays in data migration. The auditor has selected 5 customers from the current aging category for the trade receivable. Customers la pahai current trade receivables. Adequate or not? Customers la pahak select karapuga. Is that selecting 5 customers, is that adequate or not? What do you think? Not adequate lamai. So proper sample should be what? New contracts, older contracts, already paid up, negative balances, nil balances, paid by round sum figures, right? Disputed customers, everybody should be included. This sample is not enough. Sample එක not enough කියලා අර මම කියපු ටික ලියන්න. Look at part D. Discuss the procedures equal partners will follow to gain assurance over the corresponding figures and opening balances. What are the procedures on opening balances of Innovative Solutions Limited? Because this is the first year, no? Last year audited by a different firm. So what are the procedures for opening balances and corresponding figures? See, the auditors of equal partners initially planned to review the predecessor auditors' working papers to gain an understanding of the audit approach, any issues raised during the previous audit to obtain comfort over corresponding figures or opening balance. However, access to these working papers were denied. May working papers, previous auditor working papers were not given. Students, what are the procedures you got to do? Number 1, auditor has to contact the previous auditor, predecessor auditor with the client's approval. Client කියලා, right? You tell the client ඉස්සෙල්ලා කියලා ළමයි, you first tell the client, get client's approval, communicate to the predecessor auditor, request the audit working papers. If the predecessor auditor refuse like here, ask them what's the reason. ඇයි ඔයා මචං මේක refuse කරන්නේ? Ask them the reason. If the predecessor auditor not providing it, එයා දෙන්නේ නැත්තම් ළමයි, right? If he is not providing, students, you can't stop from there. එතනින් නවත්තන්න බෑ. Then what? Try to perform audit procedures on the corresponding figures and work opening balances. So sometimes students, for certain figures, you can do a rollback. What rollback එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. So inventory, maybe receivables, you can do a rollback calculation. Backward calculation කරලා ඒවා review කරන්න පුළුවන්. So opening balances perform a rollback calculation එකක් GRN, goods received notes and purchase orders දාලා ඒව දාලා ළමයි do a rollback calculation. හරියා working papers දෙන්න නැත්නම් do a rollback calculation. Maybe calling confirmations from the bank, external confirmations calling, do those functions. If those also do not support you, modify your opinion. ඒකත් support කරන්න නැත්නම් ළමයි modify කරන්න opinion එක. First and foremost, students, with the client's mandate, communicate to the predecessor auditor. If he say no, ask him what's the reason. Discuss with him. Then if still you are unable to obtain the working papers, perform procedures on the corresponding figures and opening balances. Do a rollback calculation. This year perform procedures on the opening balances. Right? See whether proper disclosures have been done. Accounting policies consistently applied. If those are not verifiable, provide qualified or adverse opinion. C. Look at part C. Design the audit procedures that equal partners to perform to test impairment of intangible assets. Impairment testing lamai, how to verify recoverable amount, fair value, value in use auditing, the value in use audit karanne, fair value audit karanne, go to the study pack and look. See. Innovation developed a software to be used in providing services to the hospitality industry and is now considered obsolete. Software is now obsolete, not used. That means you have to impair it and underperforming. However, substantial value of intangible asset is still carried in the balance sheet. Impairment not tested. The auditors need to assess whether any impairment exists if the carrying value of the intangible asset is recoverable. How to test impairment? Number one, discuss with the management. Discuss with the management. Request their impairment calculation. Management impairment calculation illegal. Request their impairment calculation and you re-perform impairment calculation. Re-perform karan lama impairment calculation එක නැවතත් කරන්න. Request the impairment calculation from the management. Re-perform impairment calculation. See the fair value is appropriate with adequate amounts. Value in use. Evaluate the discounting factor that the management has used. See whether cash flows used is reasonable. Assumptions are reasonable. Cash flows are reasonable. Cash flows. Evaluate the most recent available interim financial statements. Do that as well. Okay. Done? Great. Go to part D. You are required to assess the appropriateness of the suggestion made by the team member on including emphasis of matter paragraph regarding the preparation of two sets of financial statements. See whether you can provide emphasis of matter SLA US 706. Assess any other specific paragraph statements to be included either as other matter or emphasis of matter. C. For the year ended 30th June 2024, Innovative Solutions Limited has prepared two sets of financial statements. මතකයි නේ ළමයි? What is that? Special purpose financial reporting framework. What is the auditing standard? Special purpose financial reporting framework auditing standard එක මතකද ළමයි? What's that? හොඳට බලා ගන්න. Anyone remember? What's that? Sri Lanka auditing standard number 800. 800 බලන්න. බලලා තියාගන්න. They have prepared two sets of financial statements. Financial statements prepared under Sri Lanka Audit Accounting Standards, SLFRS, comply with the local regulations. Financial statements prepared under International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, for investors and stakeholders. Two sets of financial statements. One is general purpose, right? Equal Partners is the first time auditor of Innovative Solutions Limited and has been engaged in the audit for both sets of financial statements. After conducting their audit, the auditors have determined that both frameworks, SLAs and IFRS, are appropriate and acceptable in the respective context. So, framework එක හරියට දාලා තියෙන ළමයි. So, no misstatement. Misstatements මොකුත් නැහැ. However, one of the audit team members suggested that the auditor's report should include an emphasis of matter paragraph to highlight the fact that Innovative Solutions Limited has prepared the financial statements under two different frameworks, SLAs and IFRS. Yes, lamai, you have a special purpose framework that is being done for investors and stakeholders. So ideally, emphasis of matter has to be given, right? Emphasis of matter paragraph එකක් දාන්න වෙනවා ළමයි. මොකද there is a special purpose framework driven financial reporting statements set එකක් තියෙනවා. Emphasis of matter paragraph. No modification ළමයි because financial framework has been adopted. Framework එක adopt කරපු හන්දා no modification, only emphasis of matter that these people have prepared two sets of financial statements. Other matter එකකුත් දාන්න ඕන ළමයි. ඇයි ඒ? Sri Lanka Auditing Standard number 706, other matters not දාන්න ඕන. ඇයි ඒ? Part 2. Why you got to put other matter paragraph? ඒ මොකද ළමයි? Can I have your response? New auditor change. Very good, guys. Very good. New auditor. අලුත් auditor කෙනෙක් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා. දාන්න ළමයි other matter paragraph එක. Okay. That's the paper. Right, students? Yes, 760. Good. So, students, that's the paper where we have, I think, utilized the time effectively. It was a marathon 3.5 hours of journey, which we have discussed the entire mock examination paper. Remember, students, the points that I told you. Entire paper has to be answered. Timing very important. Action verbs you have to remember. Don't write the examiner's question back again. Make it relevant to the given case. Right? Yes, Sirun, very good, right? 61 out of 100. Very good, right? Everybody, you can check your answers. Fantastic, right? So, I know everyone, you can go to the prize as well. Right? You can pass the exam. This final 4-5 days, strategize and do. This video will be uploaded to the CA YouTube channel. Make a YouTube channel eකට upload වෙයි ළමයි. So again see it. මේ paper එකට උත්තර ලියන්න ළමයි. හැමෝම ලියන්න ඕන answer. Right? Has to do. So I think from our end we have done, we covered our syllabus. We did this paper. So good luck everybody. හැමෝම හොඳට කරන්න ළමයි. If you have any queries, මොනවා හරි queries තියෙනවා from tomorrow morning, right? හෙට උදේ ඉඳලා. If you have any queries, my contact number 07722819115. Surangi, good, right? Very good. 07722819115. You can contact from tomorrow morning and last moment you can get any advice. Okay, so 07722819115. Anytime you can get your queries sorted as well. So all the best to your examination, students. Good luck. We know you guys will do really well. You can go for the prize. You can pass the exam. No matter, students, whatever. Education is the best equipment that will make sure your future success. So if I know, I always say this. If an ordinary student like myself during my time could have done, you can do better than me. Okay. Good luck, everybody, and good night. Now don't go to sleep. Start working at least until 4 in the morning. Right? Good luck, everybody. Take care. All the best.